welcome back to the Confidad Podcast. Your host, Dan Tinquist here. So glad you chose to tune in today. We'll begin today's episode like we do every single one with our fatherhood mindset. Let's say it out loud together. I'm the only one who can fulfill the father role I have, so I choose to do it well. I get to show up well for my kids. Imperfection is reality. Ownership is a choice. Today is brand new, and so is tomorrow. I'm wholly loved, so I will love wholly. Today in our equipping section, we're going to talk about rule of life number 3, creating buy-in into this whole system. Family culture framework, time well spent method, rule of life in itself. We need to use our leadership skills that we have, that we utilize at work, in our business, whatever we do, and use those leadership skills in our family to create buy-in. And let me tell you, when we start to establish this, when we start to implement some of these things, the frameworks and the systems in our families, it can be really awkward at times. Like the first family meeting can be awkward, especially when you're like, how do I do this? We've never done it before. And so moving from good intentions to action oftentimes can become kind of clunky, kind of awkward. And the reality is the more that you embrace the awkwardness, the more that you step towards the funk, the more it can create buy-in from your family, right? Buy-in from your kids, buy-in from your spouse in a way that they're like, well, I'm not really sure about this, but I guess we'll go along for the ride. Like, who has a weekly family meeting? Well, families that have goals and intention and want to move somewhere together, they want to do good things in the world, they're going to have order and systems to make those things happen. Can't just have good intentions, right? So you've heard the saying, like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, there's a lot of things that can have good intentions behind them and still go to not so great places, because good intentions don't always equal good action or actions that lead to the desirable outcomes, right? So it's really important that if you're married, the buy-in from your spouse happens very, very soon, very early on. And also making sure that you're relying on them for their perspective and their input, and not just dismissing it. Be like, look, I got this. I'm going to do it. I'm a leader. I can go, right? It isn't just about go, go, go. If you're a go, go, go guy and your wife is a whoa, whoa, whoa gal, like, listen to that. Like, use discernment to listen to the wisdom that your spouse brings to the table, right? Because the way that this works is if it's just like dictatorship, CEO leadership style, it's not going to have the desired outcome that you want. One of my clients talked about the fact that before he worked with me, when his kid would mow the lawn, he said, I was the CEO at work, and then I'd come home and I'd be a CEO when my kid mowed the lawn. And it was like maybe his 5th time mowing the lawn, and he missed all these spots. I was like, great job, buddy. Go try again. You missed a bunch of spots. Instead of being like, hey, I'm really glad you showed good, work ethic and effort. Have you seen those spots over there? Like, do they look different to you? Instead of a coaching moment, he used it as like a boss moment. And so that's what we don't want. And so it's really important to rely on each other here in the husband-wife couple to listen to what your wife has to say and implement these things, these systems and processes and frameworks in a way that is helpful and not detrimental. That is a team building thing and not just a CEO top down, I'm in charge and we do my way. The other thing is we have to have buy-in from our kids, which often requires their input. I think you've heard throughout the last several episodes of the podcast, the input from the kids is just as important as any kind of input and ideas we have that come from our own brain, right? Their ideas need to inform the way that this is lived out just as much as our own ideas do when it becomes lived out. So when it comes to leadership, good leaders speak the vision, right? They speak it out loud. They say, this is who we are. You can come up with different mantras about your family. Like, we like to say things like, we work hard, because there's some kids around that'll be like, oh, you're a try hard. And I'm like, heck yeah, we're a try hard. Why wouldn't you try hard? Like, why would you not give it your best? And they use it as a diss to be like, yeah, you have to try hard. And it just comes naturally to me. It's like, well, when talent's taking a day off, like, effort is going to win the day, right? So we speak that. We say, we work hard. I tell my kids all the time, I said, work hard to be funny. It's easy to tell dirty jokes or crude jokes or whatever. We got 4 boys, so imagine the jokes that get thrown around here. But we're always saying, hey, work hard to be funny, and lots of other things about who we are as the Tinquist family. what we are about, speaking it out loud consistently throughout our days, weeks, and months. And then that's the good intention. The action comes behind it, living it, like live it out. Take the family culture framework, implement it into your family, get it into your calendar, make it happen, and do this in a way that creates buy-in from your kids. They get excited about it. They can look at the calendar and be like, look, we have adventure coming up, or look, we have service coming up. And look, we have contribution this week. Ooh, who cares? They're not probably going to be excited about the contribution piece, but like we said so many times, it is what creates success in adults. So have them do it. When we're falling short, when we're struggling, we call it out, right? We talk about our failures. We talk about the fact that we won't have it all together. If we're killing it 80% of the time and 20% of the time we're struggling, it's okay to call that out in ourselves, to say, I'm sorry, I'm screwing up right now and I'm trying my best, but I can't, and I need your help. What this does is starts to build an interdependent relationship within the family ecosystem. So it isn't just like, hey kids, you need to know your strengths and your weaknesses and ask for help when you're having a hard time and show your strength when you're strong. It's like, as adults, we can start to show our strengths, show our weaknesses, ask for help when we need it, repair when we screw up. And what that ends up doing is it starts to normalize the idea that like interdependence as humans is the best way for us to live out our best lives, or whatever you want to call it, like these good seeds that have been planted in us, and become strong, interdependent, confident adults for our kids, right? And the last thing, like we said a few episodes ago, celebrate it. Like celebrate the little wins, celebrate the big wins, mark these moments in your family's life as a leader to make sure that these memories are sticking in their brains and they're understanding like home is safe. It's a place where we speak out who we are. We live it out. We call it out when we're struggling, and we celebrate when we're winning it. Okay. So as you're empowered today to go speak some things over your family, talk about who you are, who you want to be. Ask your kids, what do you want to be known as? What kind of things do you want to be remembered for in this life? Speak it, live it, get it on a calendar, get it in this family culture framework system, and mark it out so that you know I have these times set aside to live out my life as a dad, for my kids to live out their lives in our family, calling out our struggles and being able to do that in a safe and kind way, and celebrating it when we're killing it. So I hope you feel empowered today and understand that like you get to do this. You get to lead in such a way that you're creating buy-in for your family, even if it's awkward, just pushing through that and creating this life that you want, building and working towards that goal. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.